I drove 800 miles to surprise my daughter at her wedding. What she revealed left me heartbroken. John gripped the steering wheel of his old pickup truck, his heart pounding like a jackhammer. 800 miles lay ahead of him, but one thought consumed him. Today could be the day he finally reconciled with Mia. The road stretched out like a promise, and with every mile, he pushed aside doubts and fears of being the unwelcome father. His mind swirled with memories of Mia giggling in the backyard, her eyes shining bright. He longed to remind her of the love that once connected them, before the walls of silence built by years apart and distance became too tall to climb. As he approached the quaint lakeside venue, vibrant lights twinkling like stars against the water, John felt an involuntary lump in his throat. It was a fairy tale setting, so different from the grease-scented garage he spent his days in. Clad in faded jeans and worn-out work boots, he felt like a fish out of water, an interloper in a world of elegance that seemed both enchanting and insurmountably foreign. Standing at the edge of the crowd, he caught sight of Mia walking down the aisle. She looked breathtaking in a delicate white gown, every bit the radiant bride. His heart swelled with pride and warmth, memories crashing in with waves of nostalgia. But as he watched her, a tidal wave of grief washed over him. The years had fractured their bond, leaving only snippets of laughter and tenderness buried where no one could see. Gathering his courage, he took a step forward, ready to claim his place in her life once more. But as she turned to announce her engagement to a handsome businessman with an easy smile, it felt as if the ground had vanished beneath him. Laughter erupted around him, but in that moment he felt utterly alone. His heart thudded painfully against his ribs as her words echoed in his mind, each syllable like a brick being added to the wall between them. Mia, his little girl, swathed in privilege, had slipped into a world where he felt undeserving. As she expressed her excitement, John was reminded, painfully, of the sacrifices he'd made working day in and day out to provide for her, struggling just to keep their small-town dreams alive. Tears threatened to spill from his eyes as Mia spoke of her struggles with inadequacy in light of her newfound life. It was a raw honesty that tore at his heartstrings. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Tears glistened in both their eyes as they faced each other in the clutter of happiness swirling around them. Could love genuinely bridge this aching divide? John's heart raced as he fought to vocalize his feelings, but the words felt stuck in his throat. He had come to mend a relationship, but the unearthing of these grievances threatened to bury him even deeper. Just as he felt the possibility of healing begin to unfurl, Mia stepped back, an invisible wall forming between them once more. The weight of unspoken words lingered like a cloud, heavy in the air. Could a father's love truly heal the wounds of missed moments? Or had too much time slipped away for them to ever find their way back? The questions lingered in the silence, their hopes caught in that space, leaving them both wondering if the past had broken them beyond repair. Mia's laughter floated through the air like a melody, but it felt distant to John. He stood in the thrumming heart of celebration, framed by garlanded tables and sparkling lights. Yet, in that moment, he felt achingly alone. The honest joy around him contrasted sharply with the turmoil raging inside. Could he really reach her? Could he bridge this chasm carved by silence and absence? As the ceremony continued, John watched Mia from across the crowd, her eyes shining with emotion as she gazed at her fiancé. His features softened, an easy confidence radiating from him. John felt a twinge of jealousy, the kind that burrows deeper with every reminder of how long he had been absent from her life. Each smile exchanged between Mia and her future husband gnawed at his heart. Memories of him teaching her how to ride a bike, those afternoons spent fishing at the lake, had those moments really been replaced by a world that felt so distant from his own? When the dinner plates were served, John managed to drift closer, motivated by an invisible line tugging him toward his daughter. He leaned against a nearby post, a witness to her joy. That's when he felt a presence beside him. It was an older gentleman, one of the wedding guests, dressed in a smart suit that seemed too polished for this moment. "Beautiful day, isn't it?" the man remarked, a fatherly warmth in his voice. John nodded, barely managing a smile. "Yes, it is. Just wish my daughter would look my way." He choked on the words, realizing they painted a vivid picture of his regret. The man turned to him, a knowing softness in his eyes. "Is that your daughter?" "Yeah, Mia." The name felt heavy on his tongue, as if it carried all their history. I don't know if I belong." "You do. Daughters always want their fathers." The man's smile held a thread of wisdom woven with compassion. "They just need to understand how much they mean to us." John clenched his fists, feeling the air thicken around him. He wanted to scream that he was here, that he loved her, that they could find their way back to one another. But what if she didn't want to? What if the past had scrawled their story in ink too bold to erase? As if sensing his battle, Mia glanced down the aisle. Her eyes met John's briefly, and for a moment, the whole world fell silent. The air hummed with unspoken words. He stood motionless, the urge to approach her strong, but fear pulling him back. It was all so overwhelming. "Mia!" A voice called from the other end of the row, pulling Mia's focus back to her groom. The warmth of connection he'd felt dissipated like a vapor. John regarded her with a mix of longing and despair, each step they had missed together echoing loudly in his heart. Suddenly, an anxious chill gripped his stomach. What would he say? What could he say to make her forgive and understand? How did a father even start that conversation? As the toasts began, laughter erupted, but all John could hear was his own heartbeat drumming against his ribs. Underneath it, doubts morphed into a chilling certainty. This might be his last chance. "Now or never," he whispered to himself, taking a deep breath, ready to break through the haze of hesitation and step into the light of truth. With every intention to reach out to Mia, he moved forward with a determination that felt both foreign and liberating. But just as he took that first step, he noticed a shadow pass behind Mia, a tall, familiar figure, someone he had hoped to leave behind. His heart dropped. Could it be true? Had he been wrong all this time? John froze, fear freezing his feet to the ground. What did this mean for their future? Would he lose her again? John's breath caught in his throat as the figure moved closer. It was too much. There, standing at the edge of the celebration, was Henry, Mia's biological father, the man who had been a constant shadow in their lives during those years John had kept his distance. Memories of late-night phone calls and the pleading looks Mia had given him for assurance flooded his mind. John was struck by the weight of it all. How could he face them both? Without thinking, he stepped back, blending into the shadows of the celebration. His heart raced as he fought the urge to run. Part of him was angry. What right did Henry have to be here? But as Mia turned again, her expression shifted from joy to confusion, and all John felt was despair. Noticing her unease, Henry moved closer, offering her a gentle smile. She returned it with uncertainty. Watching that exchange could have shattered him, but instead it ignited a fire, a desperate need to find his to reclaim the space between him and his daughter. But what could he say? As the toast continued, John stole glances at Mia, who kept darting her gaze between her fiancé and Henry. The whole room buzzed with laughter and cheers, but to John, it felt like a thick fog, isolating him from the warmth everyone else shared. Henry seemed so at ease, pulling Mia into conversation, an insider when John felt like an intruder. Could Mia already be torn between them? The thought crushed him. Just then, Mia caught his eye again. But this time, there was a hint of recognition in her gaze, like she could sense his struggle. Her smile faltered, and she looked away, battling an internal conflict of her own. It was a reminder of all those years he'd missed, a reminder that reconnecting wouldn't be simple. The sounds of the celebration dulled, but the warmth of the scene suddenly shifted as tears pooled in Mia's eyes. The laughter around her continued, unaware of her turmoil. It felt like someone had pulled the rug out from beneath John's feet. She was happy one moment and heartbroken the next, and he had no idea why. Just as he gathered his resolve to approach her, to speak through the chaos, Henry placed a hand on Mia's shoulder, the gesture both tender and possessive. A gut-wrenching knot twisted in John's stomach. "Mia!" The call came from one of her friends, a cheerful voice cutting through the tension. Mia blinked, awakening from whatever internal battle she was wrestling with. John felt a flicker of hope, believing maybe she'd reach out, maybe she'd choose him. "Can I steal you for a minute?" the friend asked, motioning for Mia. She nodded, and as she turned, John saw her bite her lip in a way that suggested she was far from okay. She looked in John's direction again, the depth of confusion clear on her face. Then she was led away. John was left reeling, his heart heavy with uncertainty. Had he come all this way only to lose her again? He took a deep breath, shaking his head to clear his swirling thoughts. There was still a chance, but why had Mia reacted that way? What weight did Henry carry in her mind? Just as he started to formulate his next move, the crowd erupted in laughter, the conversation shifting back to wedding joy. But John felt the sharp edge of reality pressing in. What if everything was slipping through his fingers yet again? He scanned the crowd for Mia, desperation clawing at him. He couldn't let this moment pass him by. He owed her so much more than this. Gathering every ounce of courage, John pushed through the throng, determined to find her. He had to fight for his daughter. But just when he spotted Mia again, her smile brightening as she whispered something to her fiancé, another figure intercepted, a sudden movement that sent a chill down his spine. This wedding wasn't just about celebration. It was a battleground for family and what might have been. Would he find the words to bridge their past? And as the music swelled, echoing through the air like a warning, he felt the urgency grow. Would he step forward to claim his place, or would he remain a ghost at the edge of his daughter's happiest day? John's heart raced as he maneuvered through the guests. He had spent hours driving, battling every mile with the hope that seeing Mia would wipe away the years of silence between them. But now his determination was met with a creeping dread. What if she didn't want to see him? What if Henry had already forged an unbreakable bond with her? He pushed aside the negotiating voices in his head, forcing himself to focus. Every smile and burst of laughter around him felt unearned. This was supposed to be a joyful day, yet he felt like a storm cloud hovering over the celebration, ready to ruin everything. Finally, he caught another glimpse of her. Mia was laughing, flipping her hair back as her fiancé whispered something in her ear that made her eyes sparkle. A wave of jealousy hit him hard. That wasn't just fondness. There was a light in her that he hadn't seen in years, and it hurt to recognize he hadn't put it there. Just then, something shifted. Mia turned slightly, glancing over the crowd. For a moment, John's heart soared. Did she feel him? Alas, her gaze quickly drifted away. The pain struck him in the gut like a crushing wave pulling him under. "Hey, are you all right?" A voice interrupted his thoughts. It was a friend from the past, someone who had known the family, a shadow in John's happier memories of Mia. "Yeah, She doesn't know you're here, does she?" The friend's expression turned somber. "You should have told her. It isn't easy, is it?" "Not at all," John muttered, his throat tight. "But I thought maybe today would be different. I thought I could surprise her." "Surprise?" His friend's brow furrowed. "You think that's what she wants? It might complicate things with Henry." John felt a prick of anger. "She's my daughter, too." "But she needs stability," the friend replied gently. "You've been out of the picture for so long. Think about what this will do to her." John shook his head, already regretting the conversation. He stepped away, all too aware that the friend was right. Mia might want to keep the peace in her life. And there was Henry, grinning like he belonged. What did she see in him? Why did he get to stand beside her while John lingered as some ghost waiting for redemption? The ache of jealousy turned into a sharp anger, propelling him forward. He had to talk to her. The crowd suddenly parted, and in that brief moment, John saw Mia alone, a fragile smile lingering on her lips. He took a deep breath, ready to close the distance. But just then, Henry stepped into the frame, casually slipping his arm around her waist. Mia leaned into him, and John's heart fell. Did she prefer Henry's comfort over his presence? With that thought spiraling in his mind, John paused, his hand trembling at his side. How could he compete with that? He dropped his gaze to the floor, the energy seeping from him. But deep down, he still wanted to believe in that long-lost connection. Everything in him fought to take that last step forward. There was too much at stake to retreat now. He might have arrived unannounced, but maybe it was time to turn surprise into strength. If he didn't act, he'd remain that ghost, always watching but never being seen. With newfound resolve, he pushed through the crowd, every heartbeat sharpening his focus. This time, it was about more than just him. It was about Mia. He would break through the noise and confusion, confront his fears, and finally reveal why he came all this way. But as he approached, he overheard something that stopped him cold. "She doesn't even know what she truly wants," Henry's low voice said, dismissive and cutting through the joy around. Mia's face crumpled in surprise. "What do you mean?" John's heart sank with a new wave of desperation. Would this moment shatter everything, or was it the opening he needed? He took another step forward, ready to make the plunge. The weight of his absence bore down on him, but maybe, just maybe, this was finally his chance to reclaim his place in Mia's life. And just as he opened his mouth to speak, a wave of anxiety rose. What if this attempt at connection just pushed her further away? Would she turn into someone he didn't recognize? The crowd's laughter seemed to fade, as if the universe itself was holding its breath, waiting for his next move. "Mia, wait!" John's voice escaped before he could think. It cut through the celebration like a sudden chill. The laughter faded, and the bubble of happiness around them popped. All eyes turned, and John felt the weight of their gaze. Mia's face froze, caught between surprise and confusion. She glanced at Henry, whose expression shifted into something dark and protective. He instantly tightened his grip around her waist, as if shielding her from John's approach. "What are you doing here?" Mia asked, her voice low, almost a whisper, but edged with panic. The smile that had danced on her lips moments earlier vanished, replaced by apprehension. I came to see you," John said. "I know it's a surprise, but I had to talk to you. I need you to know I'm here." Henry snorted, breaking the spell, his arrogance dripping from every word. "Is that so? You think showing up at her wedding after all this time?" "Henry, this isn't your place," Mia shot back, a spark of defiance igniting her blue eyes. It caught John off guard. Was she really standing up for him? She turned back to John, confusion mixed with hurt on her face. "Why now, Dad? You didn't even tell me you were coming. You just showed up." He took a step closer, anxiety clawing at him. "I thought maybe I could be part of your life again. I've missed so much. I want to know you, to support you, even if it means facing the music with Henry." "Face what?" Henry scoffed. "You think you can just walk back in and everything will be fine? You're the one who left." John clenched his fists, feeling a tide of anger rise. "I know I messed up, but I'm here now, and I'm trying to make this right." Mia's eyes shifted back and forth between them, anguish etching deeper lines on her youthful face. "This isn't just about you, Dad. It's my wedding day. What do you expect me to say?" I expect you to understand," John said, desperation spilling from his lips. "You're my daughter. I love you. I always have." Time hung suspended in the air. Mia's expression softened, but the fear lingered. "You love me, but you left," she whispered, eyes glistening. "All those years, you disappeared." John's heart twisted. He took a deep breath, feeling the sting of regret in his chest. He had stayed away for too long, but he couldn't ignore the bond they once had. "It's been hard for me, too. I thought I was doing the right thing. But seeing you here, happy, it makes me realize how wrong I was." Henry intervened, stepping forward, crowded anger in his stance. "Enough. This is not the time or place. You need to leave." "Henry, no," Mia said firmly, surprising both men. "This is my decision. I need to hear what he has to say." Her voice was steady, but trembled with vulnerability. John felt a flicker of hope ignite in his heart. Was it possible that she still wanted a relationship with him? That the door wasn't completely closed? "Mia, please," he pleaded, pushing through the anxiety. "I know I don't have the right to ask this, but I want a chance to be part of your life again. Let me show you. Let me try." As she opened her mouth to respond, a moment flashed across her face, an internal struggle he felt keenly. The air crackled with uncertainty, and John held on to that glimmer of possibility for dear life. But before she could answer, an unexpected voice interrupted. Someone shouted, "Mia, the ceremony is starting." Chaos erupted as people around them shifted, pulling the focus elsewhere. Mia glanced back towards the crowd, then back at John. I can't do this right now." And just like that, the moment slipped away, the chance hanging delicately in the air like a forgotten tune. John's heart sank. As she turned to join the crowd, he felt his resolve crumbling again. Would he ever have a shot at healing the rift? Mia paused, looking back one last time. Tears glistened in her eyes, a beacon of love mixed with confusion. But just as the words formed on his lips, she disappeared into the throng, leaving him once more standing alone. He hadn't expected her to embrace him, but he also hadn't expected to be left hanging in the uncertainty. Would she ever want to reconnect, or was he standing on the edge of a chasm that would remain unbridged? John stood there, a stone in the midst of the laughter and music. The joyous sounds of the wedding faded into an echo, as if the world was now just a blur surrounding him. He watched Mia disappear into the sea of guests, her white dress a ghost amidst the vibrant colors. His heart ached, and he felt like he had just watched the one chance to reclaim his daughter slip through his fingers. The festivities continued without him. He shifted awkwardly, feeling out of place, unwanted. Henry's glare was still palpable, like heat radiating from a fire. John clenched his fists again. "I'm not leaving," he whispered to himself, determination swirling in his chest. Taking a deep breath, he turned away from the crowd. In this moment, he needed space to think, to process everything. He found a quiet corner under the sprawling branches of an oak tree. The foliage formed a protective cocoon, shielding him from the world, and he welcomed the brief escape. Memories flooded his mind. Mia's laughter at the park, the way she used to tug at his hand, pulling him toward the swings. He remembered every birthday and every scraped knee he had soothed. They had been so close once. How had it come to this? Minutes felt like hours as he wrestled with regret. Should he have reached out before? Maybe tried harder to overcome whatever made him turn his back all those years ago. These unanswered questions loomed over him, thick and suffocating. Suddenly, a voice broke through his thoughts. "You're ruining her day, you know." It was Henry, standing at the edge of the shadows, arms crossed, annoyance spilling from his tone. John met his glare, but instead of a retort, he felt a twinge of empathy. Henry loved Mia, cared for her in a way John had been absent from. "I know," John admitted, his voice soft, "but I came here to try to fix things, if she'll let me." "You don't just get to waltz back into her life after abandoning her," Henry shot back. "You left. You hurt her." "I know," John repeated, the pain in his chest intensifying, "and I regret it every single day. But I want to be better. For Mia." Henry stepped closer, anger flashing in his eyes. "You think you love her? Love is about being there. You can't just expect her to forgive, to forget." John swallowed hard. "I can't change the past, but I can at least try for a future." Henry shook his head slowly, disappointment lined across his face. "You don't have to prove yourself to me. You need to prove yourself to her." Just then, laughter rang out, echoing from the main area where the reception was bustling. The sight of Mia surrounded by friends, happiness radiating from her every move, tugged at John's heart. He realized that Henry was right, and the stakes couldn't be higher. "Can you help me? If there's any chance that I can reconnect with her, I need your support," John asked, desperation underscoring his voice. Henry studied him for a long moment. The tension hung in the air, thick and unresolved. Finally, he sighed, his posture softening. "Mia deserves to know she's loved. If you can show her that, then maybe you've got a chance." John nodded, an ember of hope igniting. They had shared a moment of understanding, but he needed to act fast. The urge to rush to Mia pulled at him like gravity. He took a step towards the reception area when suddenly, from the crowd, he heard her laughter, a sound as light as summer air, filled with joy and warmth. He turned back to Henry, a question burning in his mind. "What if she can't forgive me? What if I've messed this up beyond repair?" Henry placed a hand on John's shoulder, grounding him. "Then at least you'll know you tried, but you have to be ready. These next moments could change everything." With renewed purpose, John straightened his shoulders and took a deep breath, ready to re-enter the whirlwind of the wedding that had stirred so many emotions. As he stepped back into the light, a thought crept into his mind, threatening to derail him. What if Mia didn't want to hear him? What if she had already moved on, leaving him behind? With a moment of hesitation, John brushed those fears away. He had come too far to turn back now. He had to try. But as he navigated through the crowd, he spotted her again. She was dancing, laughter echoing, and if he thought his heart was heavy before, it was now an anchor. This moment was crucial. "Mia," he whispered, tightening his grip on his resolve. But as he approached, she turned sharply, meeting his eyes, hesitation flickering across her face. And that's when it hit him. The truth could either heal them or break everything apart completely. John needed to find the courage to reveal what lay in his heart. But would she be ready to listen? As John stepped closer, time seemed to freeze around him. The laughter of the party, the clink of glasses, the joyful mingling of guests, it all faded away as he focused solely on Mia. Her eyes widened, confusion pooling in the depths of those familiar bright orbs. His heart raced, and he felt the weight of 1,000 regrets pressing in. "Mia," he said again, more firmly this time, trying to bridge the chasm that his absence had created. She looked around, the buoyant atmosphere of the wedding contrasting sharply with the tension that had just coiled itself between them. "Dad?" Her voice was a tentative whisper, laced with disbelief. He took a deep breath, steadied by the hope that flickered inside him. "Can we talk?" His mouth felt dry, and he could sense the charged energy of the crowd around them. Everyone was watching, noses twitching in curiosity, eager to see what unfolded. Mia bit her lip, glancing down for a brief moment. John's instincts screamed at him to soften the weight of his words, to ease the gravity of the moment. But this was no time for hesitation. He couldn't back down now. It's hard to see you here and not say anything. You look so beautiful." The sincerity in his words hung in the air, palpable and raw. Her expression flickered between annoyance and a hint of something softer, a shadow of longing, perhaps? "You're the last person I expected to see. What are you doing here?" The warmth of her smile was a bitter reminder of what he had missed. "I drove for hours to see you, to try. I thought maybe we could—" He hesitated, the words caught in his throat. Could there even be a way back? He wanted to tell her how deeply he regretted everything, how every day had been a battle with himself. But would Mia care to hear any of it? "I don't know if I want to," she finally said, the defiance creeping back into her gaze. "You just show up on one of the biggest days of my life like it's nothing." "I know it's not nothing," he pleaded, emotions building like a storm inside of him. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but can we at least talk? Please, just give me a chance to explain myself." The music softened to a gentle hum as curious eyes continued to flicker between father and daughter. John's pulse quickened as he fought the urge to reach out, to bridge the invisible wall that stood between them. Mia hesitated, and in that moment he could see a flicker of indecision. Finally, she sighed, a heavy sound that seemed to echo through the charged silence. "Okay, let's step outside, but I can't promise anything," she warned, a hint of a challenge lacing her tone. Relief mingled with anxiety. John nodded as they angled away from the thrumming crowd toward a small terrace just beyond the reception hall. Outside, the evening air felt cooler, and the weight of their emotional baggage tugged at him like a heavy anchor. Once they were away from prying eyes, Mia crossed her arms, looking at him expectantly. This better be good. Why now? Why here? John swallowed hard. I've carried this guilt for so long. I thought that maybe— Her look hardened slightly. Thought what? That I'd just welcome you back with open arms? That after all this time it'd be like nothing happened? No, I didn't think that. I know it's complicated, he replied, desperation lacing his voice. But I need you to understand why I wasn't there. Please, just let me explain. Mia's jaw set, a storm brewing in her eyes. As he opened his mouth to pour out everything he had held in for years, John's heart thundered with fear. Could the words he chose mend what had been broken, or would they push her further away? Every second stretched as if the universe held its breath, waiting. Would the truth help heal the scars, or would it deepen them even more? The moment hung heavy in the air, palpable with tension. John's heart drummed a frantic beat against his rib cage, each pulse echoing the weight of the silence that stretched between them. He searched Mia's face for a sign, any sign, that she was willing to listen, that somewhere beneath the anger was a flicker of the daughter he once knew. "Mia," he said, his voice steadying as he grasped on to the fragile thread of hope, "without excuses, it was wrong of me to leave, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything." His words tumbled out, raw and unfiltered. Mia uncrossed her arms, her stance softening just a fraction. "Sorry doesn't change the past, Dad. It doesn't erase the years you missed." The pain laced through her voice was sharp, a reminder of all the celebrations she'd faced alone, the birthdays, the graduations. She had built walls around herself, and he could feel the bricks stacking up one by one. "I know it doesn't," he admitted, the truth hitting him hard. "And I don't expect you to forgive me right away, but I need you to understand why I left, why I didn't come back. I thought I was protecting you." His voice cracked slightly, the weight of his confession jaw-clenching. "Protecting me?" she scoffed, albeit lightly, and ran a hand through her hair in disbelief. "By disappearing?" He shook his head. "By staying away. I thought you were better off without me. I thought—" He paused, the word thought a bitter taste in his mouth. "I thought I'd just be a burden. I was afraid I might mess everything up even more." Mia's expression shifted, her defenses wavering for just a moment. There, in the depths of her eyes, John caught a flash of vulnerability, a ghost of the little girl who would curl up beside him on the couch, eyes wide with curiosity and wonder. "I needed you," she said, the edge of her voice wavering. "Every day. I could have used you, even if just as a sounding board. I needed you to believe in me." "I know, and I failed you." The tears threatened to spill from his eyes, memories flooding back with painful clarity. "You were the center of my world, Mia. I took a path I thought was right, but it only led to darkness. I've seen how that darkness has affected you, and it kills me. I never meant to hurt you." For a moment, they both stood there, surrounded by the soft glow of fairy lights strung across the terrace, the pulse of the wedding still thrumming in the background. "Why now?" she questioned quietly, the fight slipping slightly from her tone. "Why did you choose to show up today of all days?" "Because I couldn't watch you get married from a distance anymore," he replied, sincerity washing over him. "Today is a new chapter for you. You deserve someone who'll be there, and I want to be that someone, if you'll let me." Mia's brow furrowed, another wave of silence falling between them. The weight of his words lingered, ripe with possibility and uncertainty. "You can't erase what's happened, Dad. I need time to even process this." John nodded, respecting her need for space, even as hope bloomed fragile and tentative in his chest. "I understand. I'm asking for that chance, and I'll wait however long it takes. Just know I'm here." "Being here doesn't mean you belong here," she warned, her gaze both fierce and tender. "I know, but I'm willing to fight for that place," he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. Mia looked down, biting her lip as emotions warred inside her. He could see the struggle, the dance of wanting to push away, and yet the slivers of longing to reach out. "I don't know if I can," she said, almost as if saying it aloud made it all the more real. As the night deepened around them, the wind stirred lightly, tugging at the edges of the moment. John could feel the distance still lingering, a barrier that might take more than words to breach. "Mia, please." Just when he thought he'd reached her, she took a step back. "Let me think about it," she said finally, her voice steady but the emotion belying the words. The reassurance hung in the air, bittersweet and fragile. He nodded, watching as she turned, returning to the warmth and laughter of the gathering. Her silhouette blurred against the twinkle of lights until the crowd swallowed her whole. As John stood there, he felt the sharp pang of hope mingled with despair. Would his words find a way to resonate, or was this the beginning of yet another goodbye? He inhaled deeply, trying to quell the longing in his heart. Tomorrow might look different, or it might not. But as the night promised change, he couldn't shake the feeling that the real journey was just starting. Would he be strong enough to face whatever came next? The gentle hum of voices and laughter filled the air as John lingered behind, grappling with the weight of unfulfilled dreams and the flickering hope for redemption. He watched the crowd move, the happiness radiating from Mia and her friends lifting his spirits and simultaneously crushing them. He wiped his damp palms against his trousers, feeling a rush of warmth and perhaps, for the first time in years, a sense of belonging. The wedding decorations sparkled under the night sky, yet his insides twisted slightly. He had missed so much, every laugh, every celebration, and he couldn't help but feel like a ghost at his own daughter's wedding. A soft voice broke through his reverie. "Excuse me, sir, can I get you anything?" The waitress was smiling at him, her notepad in hand. "No, thank you," he managed, his voice steadier than he felt. As she walked away, he realized how out of place he truly was. This wasn't just a wedding, it was a family, one he had abandoned. John meandered towards the dance floor, watching as Mia laughed, twirling with her new husband. The joy on her face, her radiant smile, those were the moments he had yearned for, yet had never been part of. It gnawed at him, making the air thick in his chest. "I can't believe you actually came," he heard a familiar voice say, pulling him from his thoughts. It was an old friend of Mia's mother, a kind woman who had once welcomed him into their home. They exchanged faint smiles. "It's good to see you, John. I hope things can get better." "I hope so, too," he replied, unable to hide the sorrow in his tone. The woman nodded knowingly. "It's never too late, you know. She might surprise you." With that, she drifted off into the crowd, leaving John with her words resonating in his mind. Mia caught his eye across the room, and for a brief moment, the corners of her lips turned up again. But then reality descended, and her gaze darted away to her friends, laughter enveloping her like a warm blanket. The distance felt cosmic between them. The silence echoed louder than any declaration. Suddenly, the music shifted tempo. The lively beat changed to something softer, and wedding guests began to pair up for the first dance. John stood frozen, tears pricking at the corners of his eyes, realizing he may never know what it felt like to have that dance with her again. Just as he was about to turn back, Mia caught his gaze once more. She stood at the edge of the dance floor, a flicker of possibility in her eyes. It was one step, one breath closer towards reconciliation, but then she turned away. The moment slipped through his fingers like grains of sand. He felt an overwhelming urge to walk up to her, to demand the second chance he so desperately craved, and yet something held him back. What if she resented him more for pushing? What if hesitation was all she needed, the space she desired? Lost in thought, he noticed her husband approach, a sturdy man with gentle eyes. John's heart sank as he considered how this man would fill the role he feared he was unworthy. Would love flourish in the place where he had let dreams die? Would Mia be happy here, in this new chapter of her life without him? As the song ended, Mia's gaze shifted back towards him, and John saw something in her expression, a little spark of confusion mixed with hope and fear. There was a tug, a pull that beckoned him closer. Could she be waiting for him? He took a deep breath, feeling the resolve brewing inside. Perhaps the distance he felt wasn't impossible to bridge. Maybe, just maybe, this crowded dance floor was the very place he could spark a new connection. With hesitant steps, he finally approached, uncertainty buzzing through him like electricity. But just before he reached her, a voice rang out, "Mia!" It was an old friend from college, bounding over with excitement. John froze, watching as the moment shifted. The connection he craved hung just out of reach, like a fleeting wisp of fog. But deep inside, something shifted. He knew then that this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of a fight worth having, and he was ready. What would he say when he got his chance? And would Mia still be open to hearing him out? As Mia and her friend chatted animatedly, the world around John shrank away, leaving just the two of them hovering in his mind, tethered to the moment he'd waited for so long. He could feel the energy buzzing around him, the laughter, the clinking glasses, the soft sounds of love and joy underlying everything. Then he noticed Mia's gaze flicker over to him. Their eyes locked again, and for a split second, it felt like the crowd faded into nothingness. The thrum of celebration dulled as they stood suspended in their own world. His heart swelled, a mix of fear and hope coursing through him. "Mia," he breathed, steeling himself. She hesitated, her expression a swirling storm of uncertainty. His desire to reach out crashed against the memories of the vast chasm between them. But today was different. Today, he had stepped out from the shadows, ready to fight for their bond. Just as he opened his mouth to speak, the music shifted again, twinkling a sweet, mellow rhythm that beckoned couples onto the floor. The warm light surrounded Mia, illuminating her in a tender glow that took his breath away. But she wasn't just the girl he had known. She was transformed, radiant and strong. How could he demand a chance when he felt so unworthy? "May I have this dance?" The words flowed out before he could question them. They were a leap into the unknown, a clear invitation that cut through the noise. Mia blinked, doubt flooding her eyes. The flicker of hesitation was strong, but he could see something change in her expression. A flicker of courage, maybe? The blissful pulse of the music rose in volume, tapering off any lingering fears. Gathering his courage, John stepped closer. "I'm here, Mia. Not just today, but for whatever comes next. Together, if you let me." Slowly, almost tentatively, she nodded, her heart seemingly warping around his words. As he reached out for her hand, the faintest hint of a smile graced her lips. She stepped toward him, as if drawn together by an invisible thread. The crowd melted away, the two of them enveloped in their private bubble as they found their rhythm amid the sea of couples swaying gently to the beat. John's heart raced not just with anxiety, but with an overwhelming feeling. He was finally here, and she was right in front of him. Time felt suspended as they danced. His hands clasped hers, feeling the warmth bloom between them. Memories washed over him, quiet backyard afternoons, life lessons under the stars. Each twirl, each hesitant step brought new memories back to the surface. "I missed you, Dad," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the soft melody. The openness frightened him, but his heart leapt. "I missed you too, Mia, more than words can express," he replied earnestly. The warmth of her gaze filled him with a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. Then Mia's expression turned serious. "So, what happens after this? Can you promise me you won't vanish again?" John swallowed hard. The weight of the promise loomed large before him. "I can't promise it'll be easy, but I promise to show up. No more running away. I'll fight for a second chance. You deserve that." As their dance continued, the air pulsed with the possibility of rekindled connections, a bridge made of words and determination to repair the fractures. The rhythm of the song shifted again, wrapping them both in tender vulnerability. Around them, the party swirled on, family and friends soaking in every moment. But John felt the noise fade to a comforting hum. With Mia beside him, he could feel the heaviness of the past gradually lifting. Each sway of their bodies was an act of healing, an act of reconnection. The song slowed, the crisp notes becoming a sweet lullaby as laughter erupted from the crowd. It was infectious, an invitation that was hard to resist. Mia laughed softly, a sound that sparked joy deep within him. "It seems the world hasn't forgotten how to celebrate." "Neither should we," John said, his heart swelling to see her happiness. They stepped back slightly, still holding on to each other, breathing together through the nostalgia and the hope for the future. As the music slowed to a close, Mia looked up, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Whether it was love or hurt or both, he couldn't tell, but John saw the flickers of healing sparking between them. They were ready to redefine their relationship, and he could hardly believe it. Just then, the crowd erupted into applause as the couple shared their first kiss, their joyous union igniting the air with happiness. The moment felt electric, and even amidst the celebratory chaos, John felt at peace. For the first time in years, "Mia, no matter what, I will always be in your corner," he promised, squeezing her hands. "Let's take this one step at a time, together." She nodded, a silent agreement, and the smile that broke on her face lit him up, proof that sometimes the darkest roads led us back home. As laughter echoed in the night air, John finally felt a flicker of belonging ignite deep within. He and Mia could write a new chapter together, filled with love, vulnerability, and more importantly, the courage to face whatever lay ahead as a family once more. It was more than a dance. It was a promise to rebuild, and as they stepped back from the embrace, he couldn't shake the sensation that this was just the beginning. The world was still bustling, chaos surrounding them, but they stood shoulder to shoulder, ready to face it together. His heart brimmed with hope, finally believing that they wouldn't just survive, they would thrive. And as John's gaze met Mia's one last time across the shimmering sea of lights, a silent understanding passed between them. The journey would continue, together. Now, before time whisks away this moment, action is key. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support makes a huge difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about this emotional ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now and don't wait, not even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.